Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. So what I have for you guys today, I have episode 3 of Poll Predictor. Now apologies, it has been a while since I've uploaded this series. I think the last episode of Poll Predictor went up a couple of weeks ago, so apologies for that, guys. But if you've not seen this series before, let me briefly explain how it all goes down. So basically, guys, in each episode of Poll Predictor, I post to you guys a different question relating to the championship, and you get to vote on the outcome of that question. So in the description down below, I will leave a straw poll link, and on that list, you'll see a list of 16 players who you are eligible to vote for. So the question last time on Poll Predictor was who has been the best transfer so far this season, and this was the outcome of that poll, guys. So as you can see, you have voted for Matt Ritchie. He got a pretty comprehensive win, not gonna lie about that, with 23% of the votes. Coming in at second, we then had Lee Tomlin and Adam Reach just in behind him. So it was quite an interesting poll, and so far actually, from both the polls we've done so far, a Newcastle player has won both of them. So it'll be interesting to see if that trend does continue this week as well. But my question to you guys this week is, who is the most promising young player currently in the championship? So I must say, before we go over all the players that you are eligible to vote for this week, guys, of course there's going to be people that I'm going to be missing off this list and that you guys think should be involved in this list as well. So let me know in the comments down below if I have missed off anyone that you think, you know what, I think they're the most promising player in the championship at this point in time. And a quick disclaimer as well before we go over the list, all these players are permanent players. None of them are loan players into the championship, so players like Tammy Abraham are excluded from the list for that reason. Also as well, most of these players I've gone with are under the age of 21 or 21. I think there's one or two players who are over that are like 22, but when I'm considering young players, I've generally gone for under 21s. So like I said at the start of the video, guys, in the description down below there will be a link to a straw poll where you can go ahead and make your decision. So the first option you have to vote for, guys, is Daniel Bentley. So obviously a very promising keeper, brought in for Brentford in this transfer window, and he's just got a fantastic future ahead of him, I can already tell. So if you think Daniel Bentley's the most promising player, make sure you vote for Daniel Bentley, a very capable goalkeeper for his age. Next up on the list we have Che Adams. So if Che Adams is your man, make sure you vote for Che Adams. He's got a fantastic future ahead of him. I think what sets him apart from the other people around him is his pace. He's just got blistering pace. He actually scored against Michael Preston off them when I went away to watch him at Preston against Birmingham at St Andrews. He's just got blistering amount of pace. He's capable of playing in a number of positions, whether that be out wide, just in behind the striker, or up front himself. So Che Adams definitely has a big future ahead of him. And next up on the list, we have the first Newcastle player of this list. We have Rolando Aarons. He's a fantastic sort of diverse winger, and he sort of burst onto the scene last season, really. And in this season in the Championship, he'll be hoping to home the all-in, as he'll hope to become a stable part of the Newcastle starting 11. Of course, that's going to be hard for him, but from what I've seen of him so far, I know a lot of Newcastle fans highly rate this guy. So if you think Rolando Aarons is the most promising player in the Championship, he's your guy to vote for. Up next on the list, guys, we then have an Aston Villa player. Now, I was really torn who to go for here with Aston Villa, whether to put Jack Grealish in this list or Aaron Tish-Bowler, but in my opinion, I think Aaron Tish-Bowler has a better potential than Jack Grealish. The reason I say that is because he's a big dominant centre mid. Obviously, they bought him in this transfer window from Reading, and he's just a fantastic player. I think he adds so much, and he's the sort of player who in the future could grow into a massive asset for Aston Villa, and they're going to play for a really top Premier League team because he's a really dominant sort of player. He's good on the ball, very physical as well, and I think he's got a really bright future ahead of him. Then your next option to vote for, guys, is John Swift. So transferring this season to Reading, this guy's got a massive potential ahead of him. He was in Chelsea's youth academy for a number of years. Last season he was loaned out to Brentford, but really it's been this season where John Swift's shown his best form so far. I think he's been Reading's best player so far this season, and for a player as young as he is to have such a big impact on Reading so far, I think he definitely has a bright future ahead of him, and I'm looking to see more of him this season. Then to our next player, guys, we have Callum O'Dowda. So currently playing for Bristol City. He actually transferred from Oxford United to Bristol City in the latest transfer window, and this is a very skillful young player. He plays on the left-hand side, or he can play on the right-hand side, but he's a very skillful sort of winger, and Bristol City will be hoping to get the best out of him this season, but in coming years as well. I think he's got a very bright future ahead of him and a great potential to go with that. Callum O'Dowda, Preston were actually linked with signing him in the transfer window. I would have loved him to the sort of player like that at Deepdale, but in the end, Bristol City managed to get him. So Bristol City fans, what do you think of Callum O'Dowda so far? Let me know in the comments down below, and make sure you vote for him if you think he is the most promising young player in the Championship. Up next on our list, guys, we then have Josh Murphy. So one thing I'll say about Josh Murphy, and our next player on the list is actually his brother, but the reason I put Josh Murphy in this list is because I think this could be a big season for him, really. Obviously, with Norwich losing Nathan Redmond, it was going to be a big season for their wingers to step forward, and sort of an accolade to the Norwich Youth Academy, really, with Josh Murphy coming through it. He's got fantastic pace, and really is a terrific winger and could prove to be a massive player for them in the future. So Josh Murphy is option number 7 on the list. Then option number 8, the next option you have to vote for, is Jacob Murphy, so obviously Josh Murphy's twin brother. So it'll be interesting to see who you vote for on here, if you're going to go with one of them. It'll be interesting to see who you think has a better potential, whether you think Josh Murphy has a better potential or Jacob. Norwich fans, let me know in the comments down below. Who do you rate higher? Do you rate Josh or Jacob higher? Let me know down below. Then next up on our list, guys, we have Callum Robinson. So far this season, Callum Robinson has, by no shadow of a doubt, been Preston North End's best player so far this season. And for the age he's currently at, he's recently transferred from Aston Villa. He has got a massive future ahead of him, and I really am looking forward to seeing what else he can do this season. He's scored an array of goals this season already. He's also got quite a number of assists, but what I've liked so far this season from Callum Robinson is his directness. He's not afraid to run at players and take players on, and he's also improved a lot of areas of his game really throughout the summer. He's improved on his finishing and his crossing, so if he's to continue his development, he really could be a gem for the future. Coming up next on our list, guys, and the next player you had to vote for is Grant Ward. Now, Grant Ward currently playing for Ipswich. He was actually recently transferred in the latest transfer window. A lot of these players have actually recently transferred, but Grant Ward especially has a massive future ahead of him, and he actually scored a hat-trick on the first day of the season, and since then has just seemed to be going up leaps and bounds. In terms of Ipswich so far this season, they've been a bit stop and start, but Grant Ward has so far been their shining light, really, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can add to their squad throughout the rest of the season. I think he adds a different dynamic to this Ipswich squad, so if you think Grant Ward is the most promising player in the Championship at the moment, make sure you vote for Grant Ward. And then the next player on the list, guys, that you have to vote for is Jamal Lascelles. Now, I just had to include Lascelles on this list. I mean, at only 22 years of age, he's already the captain of Newcastle United, which is absolutely obscene. To be that young and to be a captain just shows the qualities he has to the that he brings to the table, really. You know, it shows the leadership and the sort of character he is. But apart from that, his actual footballing abilities have been very good so far. And he burst onto the season. He burst onto the scene last season, really, with some terrific performances in the Premier League with a shoddy Newcastle side, really. He was really a shining light for them, but so far in the Championship, he's looked to form a steady partnership with the rest of the Newcastle defenders so far, and of course, they'll be looking for promotion this season, so I definitely think this one will be a popular choice. But if you think Jamal Lascelles is the most promising young player in the Championship, Jamal Lascelles is the guy to vote for. Our next player on the list, guys, is then Nick Powell. So the Nick Powell story is quite an interesting one, really. Obviously, he got that big transfer to Man United when he was about 18 years old. Since then, his career seems to have stalled, but after going to Wigan Athletic, he seems to have rejuvenated his career, really. I mean, going to Man United, he stagnated there, but Wigan, I think, it was just the sort of club he needed, really. I think the brand of football they play suits Nick Powell, and so far this season, they've seen quite a bit out of him this season. He's already scored a couple of goals. He scored a free kick a couple of weeks ago, which was very nice indeed, and I think he does have a bright future ahead of him. He's still young, I think, because he's been around for so long. I think a lot of people tend to forget about Nick Powell, but he's still a fairly young player. I think he's 21, 22 years old, so I definitely think he has a bright future ahead of him, and if you think he's the most promising player in the Championship, Nick Powell's your guy to vote for. Up next on our list, guys, we then have Jordan Cousins. So I was debating whether to put Jordan Cousins into this list, really, because so far this season, I wouldn't say he's hit the world alike with how he started his career at QPR. I mean, feel free to disagree with me, QPR fans, but that's just what I've seen of him so far. But I do feel like he's been played a bit out of position so far. I mean, he's been played out wide for a couple of games, which I don't think really suits his natural game, but I had to include him on this list because for the previous 2 seasons, he actually won Charlton's Player of the Year, and for a player that young to already have won 2 Player of this Year for a Championship club is just absolutely astounding. So I thought I'd include him on this list. So QPR fans, do you think the best is yet to come from Jordan Cousins, and how much do you think you'll see out of him for the rest of the season? I'd be very interested to know, but he's your next option. So next up on our list, guys, we then have Teddy Bishop. So the second player of the list playing for Ipswich Town. So they've got quite a good nucleus of young players in this squad, but what I like about Teddy Bishop is he's only 20 years old, and he's already a first team staple of this Ipswich side, and he's been a very good player for them so far this season, and from seasons prior to that as well. So I definitely think he has a fantastic future ahead of him. What I like about him, he's very good on the ball and can play a number of positions in midfield as well. He's not just a one-dimensional sort of player. He's quite diverse in that aspect. So if you think Teddy Bishop is the most promising player in the Championship, Teddy Bishop's your guy to vote for. Next up on our list, guys, we then have Dominic Iorfa. So playing for Wolverhampton Wanderers and is a defender. He's a fantastic fantastic sort of player. What I like about him, he ticks every box really that you want from a defender. He's big, he's strong, he's also quite fast as well, which you don't really get with too many defenders, and he can play a number of positions across the back line. He can play very comfortably at centre-back and at full-back as well. So for those reasons, I think he definitely has a big future ahead of him. Whether that lies at Wolves or not, we're yet to see, of course, but I definitely think in a couple of years down the line, I definitely think we could be seeing Dominic Iorfa playing in the Premier League. I think he's got that attributes about him. I think if he's to improve a couple of weaknesses of his game, obviously is to be expected with being a young player, but I definitely think he could step up in the next coming seasons and be a Premier League player in the future. So if you think Dominic Iorfa is the most promising player for the Championship, he's your guy. Then our second to last player on the list, guys, we then have is Will Hughes. So I didn't really know whether to include Will Hughes in this list, but I thought I had to, really. I mean, so Will Hughes is a bit of an awkward one, really. I mean, he seems to have been around for absolutely ages, Will Hughes. Despite his age, he's still really young. He's only like 21 years old, but he seems to have been around for absolutely ages. Obviously, that's because he burst onto the scene when he was about 16 years old, so it does feel like he's been on the scene for ages, but last season was a major setback for Will Hughes. I think he broke his leg and was out for all of last season, so he didn't feature at all. So it's difficult to gauge, really, where Will Hughes is at this point in time, and obviously with Derby's start to the season, we haven't really seen much out of him yet, but I had to include him on this list because in the future, you know, he's the sort of player when you think of promising young players in the Championship, he's the sort of player when you think he's going to be a future Premier League player. So I'll be interested to hear from Derby fans as to what you think you'll get out of Will Hughes for the remainder of this season, and could you see him playing in the Premier League in the future? I think I definitely could see Will Hughes playing in the Premier League. He's a fantastic player on the ball, he's good dribbling, he's good passing, good range of passing, and I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. Then your last player to vote for, guys, is Ryan Sessegnon. So I had to include Ryan Sessegnon on this list just because of the start he had to this season. I think he was the first player to score a goal who was born in the year 2000 in the Championship, which is just absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, I'm actually older than this guy, and he scored a goal in the Championship, which is just absolutely mental to me. But he's currently playing for Fulham, of course, playing at fullback, and I think he's definitely got a massive future ahead of him. He's only 16 years old, and we've not really seen the most from him so far. We've only really seen a couple of snippets from him so far this season, but I think from what we've seen and what we've got that to go off, he's definitely got a massive future ahead of him. So, and I know a lot of Fulham fans are interested to see what he has to do for the remainder of the season, guys, and the future of them for it to come, of course. But if you think Ryan Sessegnon is the most promising young player in the Championship, he is your guy to vote for this time. So there we have it, guys. There are all your options you had to vote for in this week's episode of Poll Predictor, guys. So like I said at the start of the video, make sure you do get down there and leave your vote in for who you think is the most promising player, the most promising young player in the Championship at this point in time, guys. And also leave a comment as well as to who you did vote for, and leave a reason why as well, because I'd be very interested to know from you guys. So apart from that, that will now wrap it up for this video, guys. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and in the next couple of days I will have the next episode of the Preston Career Mode out, and I will also have my week 9 predictions, I think it is now, for the Championship. But apart from that, guys, thank you so much for watching. So if you have enjoyed this video, make sure you do leave a like on the video. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you check out all the links in the description down below. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. I always tweet before I upload a video, therefore you'll never miss a video ever again, guys. But apart from that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.